So I really wish that I could have been there with you. I suppose that being called for jury duty is my way of doing my civic responsibility. So feel good for me. All right, feel don't yeah. I'd rather be there, but we all have to play our part. Um, and I offered to send this reflection just because partly because I was so excited by the theme. I was excited that there are engineers out there who understand that engineering can be more than just engineering, and that statement in and of itself is not shade on engineering as it currently stands. It's not speaking to any inadequacy of the technical aspects of the field. But I'm coming to you as an educator. I'm coming to you as somebody who thinks about education from a research perspective, who thinks about it as somebody who is in the classroom every day, and who thinks about it as somebody who does a lot of faculty development around the country and the world, over 200 universities to this point. And so I've had the privilege to think about education from very, very different vantage points. But I actually want to start this conversation by taking you to the 19-year-old me who was thinking of education only as the natural next step after secondary education. After secondary education in a different country where I fortunately had parents, even though they didn't go to college, they taught me and my siblings to dream, and they felt that dream would land me, should be nurtured and cultivated in a place called college. And when they dropped me off at Morehouse College on August 14th, 1999, and they sat me on the bench that you're looking at, they admitted to me and literally said to me, "We have taken you as far as we can." They admitted in that moment that all of the capital, the financial, the political, the cultural, the social, all of it was spent literally to get me to that bench. So as a first generation college student, majoring in biology, hoping to one day go on to a career in conservation biology, I was completely reliant on the people with that capital on that campus. I was completely reliant on the professors who knew this is how you study. This is how you take your sense of why and you turn that into a career, you turn that into grades, you turn that into a successful application for grad school. And so very often, what many of us who have the privilege to teach a classroom forget is that when we walk into that room and when we walk into that campus, we don't always know which among our students are looking to us to provide that capital. See, I understand it, right? I understand because I went to grad school for STEM, right? I did my 2 years master's, 6 years PhD. I get it. I went through a process where I had some really, really, really excellent technical training. I was a scuba diver. I was a biogeochemist. I learned how to extract samples and get data and run sophisticated analyses, all of which was important. But if I was being prepared to be a faculty member, if I was being prepared to be a professor at the college level, technical expertise is just one part of what would be required of me to do that job effectively. So why it is we have this fundamental misalignment between the training model and what is actually expected of you when you show up, it bewilders me. But that is the point. That misalignment is the point where we have to start. If we're going to do a provocation, don't just provoke from a feeling, provoke from the data. The data tells you that what you are being trained to do is not what is actually asked of you when you show up. What I'm saying to you, my friends, is that to to make students really lean into their potential fully, we first have to believe that that potential is there. And then we have to have the skills, the awareness, the intellectual background to know how to design a class and how to mentor students and how to inspire so that potential can be realized. And I hate to say it, I don't care how much engineering you know, I don't care how much physics you know, I don't care how much math you know, how much biology you know. That is a separate bin of expertise to what it means to teach students. I'm not looking at you as somebody who teaches engineering. I'm not looking at you as somebody who teaches physics. I'm looking at you as someone who teaches students. That broadens the expectations of what is required of you when you show up to that classroom. So the question becomes, is the field ready to be brave? And I don't just mean bravery in terms of, yeah, Bryan, you're right. Like, teaching students is not just about learning outcomes related to atoms and conducting electricity or whatever. Like, teaching is about figuring out who's in front of me and how to get that intrinsic motivation going. But Bryan, there are only 3 hours in a week. I have them in my classroom. How do I find time to do all of that? This was the same question that was put to me back in 2014 when we first started to design introductory biology, not for coverage, but for growth. Not for the fire hose treatment, but to inspire. Not to just get through chapters 1 to 50, but to teach you how to be an independent learner. So we were willing to cut 35% of the syllabus that was handed to us in order for us to do more actual problem solving. The way I like to tell the students is, this is an introductory biology class. And in this class, we will not do the history of biology, we will do biology. The textbook has a lot of the stuff of what we found out because people have done biology. So it is of no value to you for you to just come and us talk about that. I mean, content matters. I'm not saying no. But what do biologists do? We write, we think, we argue, we get stuff wrong a lot. We critique each other. We receive critique. We do math. We experiment. We ask beautiful questions. We translate what we find to come up with solutions that help society. We share information with other scientists. We share information with non-scientists. We share information with the public. So the 15 weeks I have the privilege of having you as my student, those are the things I will teach you how to do. So you can imagine what an uproar it was to tell traditional faculty that, hey man, there's about 30% of this we don't have to talk about, right? Let's focus on skills. But one of the things we did, which I want to encourage all of you who are brave enough to accept the provocations laid out for you in this conference, is don't just provoke, don't just accept the provocation, you assess. You're going to try something, or whatever, however small it might be. You have something in place that tells you if the thing you are trying is effective. So we cut content, we did more group work, we introduced social issues into intro bio, we did spoken word, we did poetry, we did art. We changed up office hours, we called it student hours, we dealt with food insecurity. We made it a community. And what was a 40% DF and withdrawal rate, why can't I say that word? Somebody write it down. Withdraw AL. Fine. Used to be 40%. That was the accepted number. That became 9%. So, as you can imagine, the pushback is, well, Bryan, if you cut all that content out, you make the class so easy. You're being unethical. You just basically giving everybody a pass. And then when they get to that upper division course, they'll fall flat on their face and it'll be all your fault. So we assessed that too. We compared the section that I'm telling you about to the 3 other sections where the fire hose treatment was dutifully administered. And we tracked all 4 sections into the second semester. And we showed that the section with the reduced content not only did better than all the other 3 in the second semester, because remember, they had 35% less content in their first semester. So they're coming in maybe technically with less knowledge, but they came in as independent learners. Not only did they do better, they did significantly better, statistically significantly better than 2 of these sections. And then when we tracked them to their junior and senior classes, that gap actually widened. I want you to think on that for a second, because I know, especially when I talk to STEM audiences, we, for perhaps good reason, we tend to want to have this conversation about numbers. It was 45%, now it's 9%, and that's a good thing. It is a good thing. But I want you to put the numbers aside and think of what I just shared with you as people, as students, mostly black and brown students, who were told through that teaching approach and through that grading mechanism that you weren't good enough to be in science. You weren't smart enough to cut it for this bar that I set for you. By changing the way we approach those very same students, not only did we tell them you were good enough, we told them this is yours for you to go forth and change this field. The numbers are great, man. Your provost for enrollment management would love it, because that's more butts in seats in the spring, more tuition. I get all of that. But as a social justice imperative, you are giving people the opportunity to thrive and have agency in STEM that they deserve. You know, I went to the same STEM grad school like so many other people where I was actively discouraged from teaching. Unfortunately for me, I guess, because not everybody gets a chance to, do something that really became their calling. Fortunately, I taught as a requirement initially, but fell in love with it so much that that I made it a career. Now, not just the teaching, but thinking about teaching, researching teaching. Teaching and college classrooms is a place where the democratic experiment can have formative preparation. These are the terms I think about when I think about teaching. And I can do that and still have a rigorous, technically efficient, challenging class. But I can do all of that and still have a class of love. And I learned that lesson when I in the first class that I taught, where so many of my students were just obsessive pre-med students. This is in a biology department. And when I actually got a chance to talk to them, because it actually bemused me at the time, like why pre-med as a singular goal, right? Not that I was, we need more doctors than we need, seagrass biologists. So I didn't care per se. That part didn't bother me, right? But I was just intrigued culturally, like why that? And when you actually sat and talked to them, they would first give the I want to help people answers, but eventually, when you ask the right questions, they will say things like, but my parents said that this is what I have to do. I'm a first generation college student, and this is the path. This is the clear path to the American political and financial dream. And it was through those conversations that I realized that as much as I love biology and I love teaching biology, I love talking about biology, I love what biology has done for the world and the exploration of it. What education really is about is walking students to a place where they can find their true purpose. And I can use biology to do that. Not I, but perhaps you can use engineering to do that. You can use physics. You can, whatever subject matter it is, that's a vehicle. That's not the end point. And that is a way of thinking that some people are, and some institutions are starting to pick up on. And I say starting, not there yet. And I invite you as you go through this conference to perhaps start thinking similarly, not just about your teaching, but your field, your department, and your institution, and ultimately, hopefully, the country. Thank you so much.